How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all jacked up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Frank Papé. And if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. He is a phenomenal illustrator and artist. He did work on a ton of different children's books. I really love his style. I think he's got a gorgeous sense of color, a wonderful imagination, and really brings the written word and the imagination to life in a unique way. Gorgeous stuff. He really encapsulates mythology in his own unique perspective in such a wonderful way that I'm just thoroughly engulfed in lately. I really dig his style. His color is gorgeous. A layout, composition is really wonderful. I love the expressions on all these faces. Just has such a sense of whimsy and imagination in his work that I really haven't seen in a ton of people's work, and it seems really prolific throughout every one of his pieces, that there's something in there that just really catches my eye and my imagination's eye as well. I really liked this pose here too. Seemed like there's a nice sense of perspective and a really nice silhouette in this one as well. And I really like the way that I always am looking for different ideas for, well, I have a couple book ideas that I want to work on, and I really liked this way that he set up the framing of his page here too. I thought that was really interesting. This one's really cool too. So I urge you guys to check out more stuff from him. Also, I'll throw some links down in the description below. He's another one of those artists that I think each one of his images, or the more images that I see of his, I just fall in love more and more with him. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information on him as far as letters or interviews or biographies that are really that in-depth. I think, was it JVJ has a wonderful little write-up on him, but nothing that really comes from his own mouth. But I was able to find a piece of correspondence from James Cabell, I believe is how you say it, and he was a writer who had hired Frank to work on some of his books along with him, to do the illustrations, and he had this to say. He said, "The only fault I find is that you display such a wealth of inventiveness and wit as troubles me with misgivings lest the text run thin and pallid beside it." I thought that was great, to be such a master of imagination and creativity and your craft that the thing that you're trying to bring to life just fades away because your work's so great. I mean, it's if you remember back to your childhood, there's probably a book and a story that you remember, but the thing that you remember about it the most is the imagery that you saw alongside with it. And when you've got that powerful imagery and that wonderful sense of imagination, especially when something you haven't even seen this style like before or represented in that way, it has a chance to really resonate with us as individuals. We are very visual creatures, you know, that a picture is worth 1,000 words kind of mentality. And I think when you can really capture what it is that someone's trying to say with words in visual, it's really strong. That's why, you know, you have those kind of propaganda posters are always really iconic, and just this imagery that has so much behind it. Same with you know, any sort of visual medium, illustration, animation, photography, any of that kind of stuff where you can capture that moment or capture that imagination. It's always wonderful. So let's go ahead and get into some animation for the day. We're going to continue on with this Piggypiggyback shot that we're working on here. We were using the Malcolm rig, which is from Anim School, the Stewart rig from Animation Mentor, and the Goon rig from How to Cheat in Maya. If you guys are looking for links to try out these rigs for yourself, check out the links in the description down below, along with more stuff on Frank Papé, which I'm probably butchering his name as per usual. So we started off. Should I do a play blast first? I guess we will. I'll do a quick play blast just so we can see where we're at. All right, great. So that's where we kind of ended yesterday. So the main thing that I want to try and hit today is just doing hopefully the up and down and a little bit of rotate in the hips of both Stewart and the Goon character, just so we can start building on there, and then we can look into more of the subtleties probably tomorrow. But I think that's a good place to start off. So remember, we are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that, check out the links in the description below. And remember, it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often anytime that you're doing this. So this would probably be where its lowest point is, I would think, right about here. Let's go ahead and turn Goon off, at least for right now. Like 8 would be up here a little bit. Down a little bit, and up here. And again, I might tweak the timing a little bit here as well, so we want it to be a little bit delayed further from what we have already. And as you can see, we are going to get some lag here, so that's to be anticipated when you've got a lot of characters that you're working on in the same shot. That's okay. Also, I think I need to do some cleanup on the old computer, do some maintenance here. So I think we're getting a little bogged down with some stuff, so I'll have to run some CC cleaner and some do some defragging, and eventually do some upgrades. And if you guys want to help out with that process, there is a donate button on PayPal on my site. If you guys want to help out with any of the upgrades, any of that money will just go back into the channel, doing more, making sure that I keep new content coming every day for you guys. I think I'm probably going to start doing more of those stop motion. I'm really having a blast doing those, and I think they're fun. Able to get, even though the animation isn't as, let's say, refined in the movement as some of the 3D stuff, I feel like the storytelling options are a little bit more fun at this point, just because I'm not focused on the intricacies so much as just the overall storytelling, and I'm having a bit more fun doing that. So we'll see how the channel evolves with that. Let me know down in the comments below as well what you guys think, as always. And let's just kind of frame through here. Actually, yeah, I think we should be a little bit later here. So this would be like our furthest down position here. And what do we have? We'll grab everything, I guess. Just so we can keep it clean here. And we'll go back here. And we'll punch in another key there. To start for us, and then let's look. About here, maybe do a little bit of rotate Z there, and 8 frames later. There, and 8 frames later from that, go here, and I'll probably scale that back too. And there, put that back, and bring that over, and then back to 0 here. Okay, and see how that looks. I think I might turn the Malcolm rig off here, so let's go look at our outliner there and create a new layer. Turn the visibility off on that. It should just leave our top character. It might go a little bit faster then. Okay. Again, let's go back in here and try and clean that up a little bit more. balanced out. So we're not favoring the left side over the right side or anything, but we're getting good amount there. And look at that translate Z, we don't need that to be moving, keep that consistent, and the translate X, keep that zeroed out there too. So let's see. I'm going to try and get rid of any extraneous keys that we have laying around here, which we don't have too many of for right now. And let's look at the spine here, which I think we just did. This one, no. Make sure we key in just what we need here. These 3, which I think is where we left. And do a little bit of rotate Z that way, kind of offset it. And then this way, back in. And again over there, and over here, and over there, and back to where we started. Okay, and I'll just do a little bit of that. I feel like that's a little over exaggerated for now, so we'll pull that in here. Bring that back there. Back. Okay. Let's go ahead and turn Malcolm back on, and let's just watch these two for right now. We'll do a quick little play blast and see where we're at here. Alright, it's feeling a little bit looser there. I think we'll do probably a little bit more up and down on there. And we'll need to probably counter animate the head because the head's a little floppy here, which is okay. So let's look here, turn Malcolm back off there, and look at our translate Y, so I'll push that up a little bit more. And let's see, 2.5 from there. Right. 1.5. Okay. Try to balance it out so we get a good amount there. And again, let's exaggerate that a little bit more. And let's look at let's turn the follow line on. And same with the head. Actually, let's try turning that off instead. Okay, and rotate the head back up here. There we go, a little less tilt in the head now. That's good. So let's look at the rotation. We'll go in between there. So that'd be like 4 here. I go forward a little bit. And go back a little bit. And go forward a little bit. Back. And forward. Back. Forward. Back here. Forward there. And again, we'll scale this back and offset it with the chest there, but just so we get a little bit of that looseness in the spine. And again, we don't want to do very much at all because this is all going to affect the Goon character that we'll have sitting up top too, so got to make sure that we really scale this back, but I still want to try and get a little bit of it in there. just evening this out a little bit more. Again, apologies for a little bit of lag that we've got today. And bring that back. And bring this back. I think there might have been some sort of an update with XSplit as well. Might be giving us those issues here. I'll have to check into it when I get some free time, which is like never these days. But that's okay. Days should be full of good hard work each and every day. Okay. So I'll just kind of leaf through there again. Alright. And let's look at the spine. Do we do those? Man, my nose is itchy for some reason today. I think we did it here, right? Out a little bit more. Down. Back. Down. Back. Down. And again, we'll balance this out here in a moment. And back to where we were. Alright. So let's try and play the cleanup game here. And bring all of these down. All over there. Balance it out a little better. Okay. And let's kind of leaf through that, see how that feels. Probably still a little too much, but we'll go with it for now. And let's look at that rotate Y here. Should probably be on 2. Let's turn Malcolm back on. What frame do we do those rotate Ys on here? It's every 8 frames, starting at there. Okay, so it should be at like the 4. Think, right? That's where we have our Z's on, so let's go at 2 then. Do a little bit of rotate Y there, and then there, and there. Again, we don't need a lot of this, but just so we get a little bit of twist in the belly here. There. Turn Malcolm back off. There. There. And back to where we started. Okay. So, let's see. I missed our key here. We have 10, 18. Yep. That back and over here. And this one down there and up there. Come on. There you go. Man, I'm getting some hefty duty lag today. It's always fun. Bring that over there, which I think we should favor it a little bit more. Like that. Make it even. Alright. And then I want to do the chest too, and then we'll do another play blast here. So that'd be starting at 2. Other way. A little bit that way. This way. That way. let's clean that up one more time. Again, we're just looking at the rotate Y's so far here, and we don't need that much at all. Must be having like an allergic reaction or something. Just something my nose won't stop itching today. Awesome. Alright, so bring that back a little bit there. Let's see how we're looking at. Just gotta frame through here. Alright, feeling a little more loose. Okay, let's do another play blast just of these two and just see where we're at. And let's start probably looking at the Goon rig. Alright, remember we're just really looking at like the chest and the root right now, which I think works fine. We're gonna have to offset the head. The head's a little too floppy for me, but we'll get there. So let's go ahead and start looking at the Goon hips and root here. So we'll let peace out, turn Malcolm off. Since they're parented together, I guess we gotta do them together. Okay. So what frame did we have the translate Y's on? Back on 2, so this one would be back on 4, I guess. So I'll go and lift that up. The thing I like about the Goon rig is it's always lightweight. It's always nice to go back. So even with them getting lag, always is a fastest one that I've used that's pretty reliable. Big fan of that rig. I think other rigs are way more aesthetically pleasing, but as far as just usability, Goon rig is hard to top. And back again. Alright. And let's even these out a little bit more here. And I really want to over-exaggerate the one on the top because he'd be feeling the most reaction from all the movement. You know, like in a tail or in a pendulum, whatever portion is the furthest away is always the most active. Like the tip of the tail is always whipping around versus the base. And same kind of idea with him at the top. So let's kind of frame through that. I think we need to go a little bit higher so we can actually feel that he's actually getting off there. And let's go a little bit lower here too. Again, I don't want to really intersect through everything, but I want to really feel that. Okay, and let's look from here. Probably swing, rotate Z about here. And about 8 frames from there would be what, 14. And swing the other way. And 22. So we kind of have it swing out a bit further after there. And then flop them that way. 38. 46. And back again. And let's look there. Try and balance these out a little bit more. And again, especially towards the end here, we're going to favor it down where we start there. And bring that up. And this one. And let's just see how that feels. And I think we should probably have the translate X kind of swing out a little bit there. And the other way. 4 out. Okay. And then I'm going to do that at 20, I think. And again, we'll scale this back for sure because it's a little too far there. It's going to be intersecting, but you get a little bit of this in there. And then back to where even it out a little bit more too. So let's see. Okay, and then we're just going to put the rotate Y's at starting at 2, so let's start rotate Y's at your 4 or 6. Do our rotate Z's on. Yeah, let's do them at 4 here. There. And 8 frames there. The other way. Actually, it would be this way. That way. This way. That way. This way. That way. And I'm back again. And again, we'll even those out a little bit more here too. So let's see how we're looking here. Okay, and let's look at the spine. Now, where do we start those? Rotate, I'll stick with rotate Y for now. Okay, so we gotta rotate Y, just gonna offset that a little bit more. This way, this way, this way, and that way. Back again, and over again, and back to where we were, and we'll look at our rotate Y's, bring these back. Doing, with all these 3 characters stacked on top, it reminds me of some of the Transformers rigs that I saw from like the Michael Bay movies. Some of the rigs they use have like so many controllers, it's ridiculous. I mean, really cool, but you really have to have a good approach for how to get into doing those kind of shots, because those can get overwhelming quickly with the amount of controls they have on each of those. You think that's one of those things too. When I first started out, you know, they using doing 3D animation or whatever, probably start off with like a bouncing ball, which has you know, your up and down, left and right, and your side to side, and then you've got the same, you know, X, Y, and Z rotates, and that's pretty much your main controllers, and that's what you have to do. And you mess around and you try to get your bouncing ball to look realistic and whatever, and then you go from there. And then once you know, start getting into more complicated rigs, like just a human bipedal character or quadruped or anything, you have exorbitantly more controls, and you're like, oh, how do I approach this? And then if you look into more intricate ones, and there's more controllers and more controllers, and keep going. So you have to kind of build up you know, a methodology or whatever. So I usually, especially with like walks and runs or any physical shots, I usually start with the feet and the hips and get those working. And then once those are working, then you can go on from there. I always find that those are some of the most important parts to get working, and it's good to have an approach, especially you know, if you end up getting into doing professional 3D animation, you're going to have some rigs that have way more controllers than you think, and it's always a good workflow habit to get into building your own. It doesn't have to be the same. You know, when you go to take classes, you're probably going to learn someone else's workflow that works for them, or if you watch my videos, you'll see my workflow throughout, you know, how I kind of approach stuff. But just because that's how I do it doesn't mean that's the correct way or the right way or the way that's going to work for you either. You really got to figure out your own path for how to approach a shot. This is just looking at this one with the amount of different controllers that we have, because we're using so many different characters. Just reminded me of seeing all those, and especially when I first saw those rigs like the first time when I had only really used maybe like a really small, like 3 controller rig. Seeing those for the first time was definitely wow, that's gonna be a lot of work. It's like when you first start getting into animation and you think, oh, it's cool, just draw a picture here, draw a picture there, and then if you want it to look good, you start realizing how much work you have to put into everything just to make it look halfway decent. Not to mention, if you want to get into lighting and texturing and modeling, it's a good amount of work. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of rotate X on here. I don't know why I went off on that tangent. Just reminded me of first seeing those, and I thought they were so cool when I first saw those. I forget which who I was studying under then. Whichever. Okay, do a little bit of forward and back here. But I bet you could probably see him in like some of the behind the scenes for those movies. They probably have a glimpse into what those rigs look like. I think Pacific Rim, if I remember correctly, had a good behind the scenes that showed off kind of what those kind of rigs would look like if you're using those. The kind of machines you have to have, just computers that you have to have to run those at any good speed. So just balance this out a little bit more. Bring that up here. How are we doing on time for today? Yeah, we still got some time. Good. So I think after this, then I'll do a little bit on the arm. Try and get some looseness there. And then we'll probably balance out his head, because that looked a little too over the top. We'll do some counter animating there. And then that probably will be all the time we really have to work on this one for today. Forward, back, forward, back, forward there, back here, forward there, back here, there, back here, and we'll balance this out here in a second. That down here, there, and there, and we'll balance it out from the other side here. I love that movie, Pacific Rim. That was a great movie. Huge Guillermo del Toro fan, though. Love almost everything that guy's done. If you haven't watched Pan's Labyrinth, stop this show right now and go watch that movie. Love that movie. Okay, so let's do a play blast with everything on and see how we're looking. I'm sure got some stuff to touch up here. Alright, a little too much like twist and sway and not enough up and down, so we've got everything working. We just need to get it more in control here for us. So I'm just going to tone down all of our translates and our rotates here. So that translate X, we're going to bring that back to about half, and about half there. And look at our rotate Z, we'll bring that back to about half of what we have it at now. There, and look at our rotate Y, and cut that in half as well. It's just a little too much sway and not enough up and down. Okay, and take our translate Y's and we'll crank those up a bit more. Okay, and then we'll tone down what we have in the Y and Z here as well. There, and about there, and this one, bring it up a little bit more, and rotate Y's, bring these back, let's do another play blast there and see how that's feeling. Alright, I think it's better. Maybe tone down the up and down a little bit and add a little more rotate Z to the hip, I think. And a little more rotate X throughout the spine here. So translate Y and we'll just scale it back just a little bit, like 10%, 8%. Or rotate Z's and we'll crank those back up a little bit more. Not a ton, but a little bit more. And same here, a little more rotate Z. Say the rotate X as well. I'm going to crank that up. Give me about an extra 20% there. And same here. Alright, and let's go ahead and watch that now. Alright, I think that looks a decent amount better now. And let's go ahead and get his arm bouncing a bit more. We'll go ahead and save our file here too. Remember, it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often, especially when you kind of hit that next little, excuse me, got the hiccups, little chunk to attack. That way you save off what you had. Alright, so we're looking at the arm here. And we'll go ahead and go see where we want to go here. Rotate it up there, down there, up here, down there, up here, down there, and I'm sure we'll tone this down. It's probably a little too exaggerated at this point, but we're going to break it up and offset it throughout the arm there too. Let's go here. Down, up, down. Bring it down, up, and down again, up here, back there, and I think I might have this inverted too, we'll see. So should drag there. So we'll flip that so it's getting its lowest points there. And vice versa. Here. Should be down there, up here. Maybe we'll do it on 2 here. So we drag there. Keep playing around with this until it feels real nice and loose here for us. Go up there, down there, up there, this down here too. We'll start off with it a bit over exaggerated. So let's just kind of frame through that. Okay. And we'll do just a quick play blast, see if we're in the right ballpark here before we start polishing anything up. Alright, so yeah, that works, but it's way too over the top. So I'll scale everything back, except for I think I might do a little more on this main forearm here. I feel like that's not as pushed enough, and then a little bit less throughout. Not a ton more here, but a little bit more. And have somewhere to go with it here. Let's see. Universally, just bring it down a little bit. So I feel like these aren't pushed enough. Let's bring those down there a little bit more. Okay, and let's balance out this forearm a little bit better. Bring that back. This one back. That one. And bring that up a little bit more. Okay. And then we'll look here. And we'll tone this down, balance it out a little bit more. Feels a little better. Alright, so it's still a little less upper arm and a little more forearm. So I'll bring this back. And bring that back. And do a little more here. Again, this is the part where it's, you know, a little bit of give and take until you find that right spot here. Before I do another play blast, though, let's start doing a little bit of counter animating in the head, because I know we were wanting to try and hit that up here. So go here and just keep it a little more focused or tilted forward there. And go with 20. So there's not as much sway in his head. It's a little more focus forward there. There. And there. And then back to where we were originally. Just before I spend the time to do another plate blast, we'll try to address two birds with one stone here. Z. Do a little bit there, a little there, a little bit here, and a little bit over there, a little bit more here, and then bring it back. Okay, not a lot of that, but I'll just try and push it a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another play blast and just see how that arm looks and the head looks. And let's turn it again so that we can can see that arm a little bit more focused in here. Alright, still has a ways to go, but I think that looks a little better. So we'll probably still tone that down a little bit more because that arm's just a little too busy. And we have a little bit of time left together today, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of bounce in his head there too, or in his neck. So before we go on, I'm just going to scale this back just a little bit more. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And same with that arm here. Because I like where it's going, but it's just still a little too busy. So bring that back. Okay, and let's look at the head. Let's go down there. Probably about here would be our up, right? Let's see. Down. And down there. Maybe we'll delay it a frame. Or push it forward a frame. We'll see. Because we want it to pretty much hit like right after the hips hit, I think. Right. Let's see. And go back to where we were. It's like this one actually should be like our lowest point here. So we should invert it. Okay. That's alright, we'll just keep playing with it till it feels right here for us. And again, back to where we originally started. And I'm sure it's going to be too over the top, so we'll scale it back a little bit more. And then we'll grab this one, we'll do it at 2 here. So I'll drag it down there. And then 4 frames later, flick it up. And down. See, I don't want it to be like the same as the hand, but I'll give us a place to start with, I guess. And I feel like we're at this point right now, we have too much in the head and not enough in the neck. So we'll rectify that here in a sec. And balance this out a little bit better. And we'll bump up the movement on the neck a little bit more here too. And try and balance that out a little bit better as well. Okay. So we'll balance it out. We said we wanted to exaggerate it, not tone it down here. Bring that up. Okay. And let's do a play blast and see how that's feeling. Alright, that's pretty close. Exaggerate the neck a little bit more. Delay the head, or just tone down the head maybe. We'll see. So let's take the neck again, exaggerate it a little bit more. I think we'll tone down the head a little bit. Just a little bit more. Okay, and do we have a little bit more time together? A little bit. Do we have enough to... let's try and throw in a little bit of shoulder. For right now, we'll just do it at on 4 here. here, and we'll push it forward a frame so it leads a little bit more. Down there, up here, and down there. And I think I inverted that somewhere along the way too, so I'll go back in and clean that up. Back here, and like I said, we want to push it forward a frame so it kind of leads the arm. Okay, so let's do a play blast there, and that'll probably be where we're at, unless there's anything sticking out here. And we'll Alright, yeah, I think that's starting to come together a little bit more. Just tone down the head a little bit, and we got that shoulder in there. And we started off looking at the beautiful work of Frank Papé, and he said the only fault actually was said about his work by James Cabell, and he said, "The only fault I find is that you display such a wealth of inventiveness and wit as troubles me with misgivings, lest the text run thin and pallid beside it." So I think it's a great goal for any of us who work in the or are learning the visual medium of expression and art and animation and illustration and photography or any of those kind of things, is to try and make words seem lacking compared to the visuals that we can come up with. So I think that's a great goal to have, great thing to think over anytime you're approaching a new shot or a new image or anything like that, that you look at kind of what the meaning is behind it, and that you go above and beyond that. Use your inventiveness and your wealth of knowledge and creativity to push your work further than words could even express. So I love you guys lots. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope that you're enjoying this series and you're enjoying all the little stop motion that I'm trying here, as well as I'm learning that medium. And like I was mentioning the other day too, so if you feel like you're maybe getting stale or you're getting frustrated with your work, or that you just need a different way to express it, try using, like I said, either painting if you're doing pencils, or use a different kind of ink, or just something different to mix up the medium or the way that you get from idea to end result a little bit more, and try something different, and maybe it'll spark an extra sense of creativity, or that sense of freshness or fun or newness to it, as you throw your inventiveness and your wit and your knowledge behind your work to make things expressive and fun and reach people and have a message that you can send out into the world, much like we have together in our little community of encouragement and inspiration, and trying to push each other to create new and amazing things each and every day. So I hope you guys are working on your own journey. As always, throw down in the comments anything that you're working on, that you want any encouragement on, or thumbs up, or an extra set of eyes, or any of that kind of stuff. But I'm getting rambly, so we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for sharing some time with me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you for some more animation, some more imagination, some more creativity, and having fun and taking steps in our journeys together tomorrow.